125-pound preview for the 24-25 season. If you followed this weight at all last year, you know this was the weight of chaos. I said in the preseason preview, this is going to be the weight of chaos. This could be up and down. It's going to be crazy. And it was actually crazier than I could have expected. All right, in this preview, I'm going to go over who's out, who left this weight class, who are the key departures, who are the key additions, who are the names that could enter the 125 ranks and turn some heads. I'm going to give you all 8 of my All-Americans, round 12. I'm going to give you who I think is going to win a national title, as well as probably a couple other tangents along the way. So 125 pounds, we're going to start with the key departures. Who left this weight class? There's some really significant names that are no longer, or I believe are no longer going to be wrestling at 125. Let me lay them out for you. Drake Ayala from Iowa. He was in the finals last year at 125. All reports seem to indicate he's going up to 133 pounds. Braden Davis, Penn State's true freshman phenom. He was the #1 seed. He didn't actually place at NCAAs, but had a phenomenal freshman year. Sounds like he outgrew the weight class as well. Will be up at 133 this year. Will he start? Won't he start? That's to be determined. They could still redshirt Braden. And then Luke Stanich, another guy who has outgrown this weight class. It is the lightest weight class, so you see this. This is kind of common. Luke spent some time as the #1 guy. But it sounds like he's going to have to redshirt this year with Ryan Crookham being the #1. Lehigh certainly has some first world problems there at the lightweights. And we had graduations from Pat McKee and Eric Barnett, 2 All-Americans, 2 really tough guys, had great careers. They're not done. So loses some firepower for sure, but I still think it's going to be chaotic. And here are the key additions, the key newcomers to this weight class. Penn State's Luke Lillidahl. I believe he's going to wrestle right away, year 1. He's obviously ready. You look at what this guy's done on the freestyle stage as a junior world, multiple teams, multiple medals at the age level. This guy's the real deal. He's beaten so many elite guys. He's beaten some NCAA All-Americans already, and he's going to be the best guy in the room. And our guy, John Kozak, he created a little bit of a stir when he predicted Luke to win NCAAs this year in his 125 season preview. I don't know if I necessarily agree with John, but he's not wrong that Luke can absolutely win this weight class. And in a weight of chaos, kind of anything can happen. Another big addition or potential addition to this weight class, Greg Diakomahalis, the brother of Elijah Diakomahalis, and yes, also Yanni. I think he's kind of been waiting for his time. He's beaten some All-Americans in the past. He's beaten Eddie Ventresca. He had some nice wins last year, beat Tarakina. So look for Greg to have an impact at 125. But a quick refresher, what happened last year? Well, Richard Figueroa won this weight, and he was a very fitting champion for 125 pounds. He was the 8th seed, right? And every time this weight would zig, it would end up zagging. And of course, like we all predicted, the 8th seed ended up winning this tournament. And an interesting little stat about this weight class, there were 8 different wrestlers that held down the #1 spot, which is a really high number. That's a lot of change. That's not 8 changes. That's 8 different wrestlers that were ranked #1 at a different point in time. Half of those guys, 4 of them, did not place, including the #1 seed, Braden Davis. So that's just a picture of how crazy this weight class is. And I'm going to get a little more into Richard Figueroa's year as I give my full-on predictions for the season. Now, these are predictions that are sure to go wrong, right? Like predicting, there's a lot of variance just with who's going to be where, right? Weight changes happen, lineup battles happen. You don't know for sure. So definitely making these predictions in October, a lot can change here. And as I'm doing this, I'll give a little, actually, I don't want to even get into that yet. We'll get into that in a sec. I'm going to start with my round of 12. And there's some wild cards here. I've got 3 wild cards for this before I get in the round of 12. Noah Certain, Diego Sotelo, Nico Provo. All 3 of these guys had huge wins in their career. But these are guys that you don't know, with Sotelo, you don't know if he's going to beat Anthony Noto or lose to an unranked guy, right? Provo had a little bit of that, as did Noah Certain. Noah Certain, the end of his year, seemed fraught with injury, right? If Noah can get healthy, he's a home run hitter. He's beaten Jory Volk. He's got some nice wins. He's beaten Tanner Jordan multiple times, who's an All-American. So there's no question those 3 guys, my wild cards, they have potential to get on the podium. These are also guys you could see go 0-2, right? That's how much variance there is at those weight classes. And with the wild cards, they're especially variable in what they can do. So my round of 12, 4 really tough wrestlers: Tanner Jordan, Noah Certain, Steve O'Poulin, and Cooper Flynn. All four of these guys have All-American potential. Tanner Jordan's actually done the thing. He is an All-American. He placed last year 8th at the NCAA championships. I think he's going to fall a little short this year, but Tanner Jordan is the ultimate scrapper. Wrestles really, really hard, gets every last ounce out of himself. He's not the most talented guy, I would say, but man, he can freaking wrestle. He's really good, and he beat Spratley for the second time in that, and he beat him in the round of 12 to end up placing for a Jackrabbit team at South Dakota State that has just, had an all-time great performance for them. And that's a program that's obviously on the rise. Noah Certain, Steve O'Poulin, those are guys that have been right there. They've been, in Big 12 finals and wrestled some huge matches, beating All-Americans. And Cooper Flynn, he's transferring from Virginia Tech to Minnesota. Not going to have to worry about that starting spot. He's going to be the man for the Golden Gophers this year. The question for Cooper is, can he score enough consistent points? He's in a lot of close matches. And against, from round 2, even round 1 on, those are going to be coin flip type of matches. That's why I think Cooper Flynn may fall just short of podium status, though he is absolutely capable of getting on the podium. All right, 8th place. I've got Jacob Camacho returning or getting on the podium for NC State. This was my preseason national champion prediction last year. I thought Camacho was going to get it done, and I looked kind of smart for a little bit there, right? He got to the number 1 ranking, but then kind of as the season went on, Jacob couldn't quite return to form. But I think he gets on the podium this year, placing 8th. 7th, this is a guy I definitely think could win a national title. It's Caleb Smith from Nebraska. He's maybe the best neutral wrestler at this weight class. The mat can be an issue for him. We saw him have some issues getting off the bottom, particularly against Eric Barnett. But Eric Barnett's not there anymore, and there's not a lot of elite top wrestlers, except for the next name I'm going to say, Anthony Noto from Lock Haven. This guy's been on the podium multiple times. I predict him to get 6th place, just behind Jory Volk from Wyoming. 5th place, Jory Volk, a guy who's beaten Richard Figueroa, the national champion, but he also had some losses along the way as well. 4th place, Troy Spratley from Oklahoma State, and this guy was off the podium last year. I look for a big step forward for Troy Spratley, working with Thomas Gilman. You've got Roman Bravo Young there. You've got this renewed energy maybe at Oklahoma State. And he had a great year last year, too. He was really good a year ago. He was a freshman. I think he figured a lot of things out. He was right there in the matches against Drake Ayala. He was just a takedown away. And if he wins that match, he's an All-American. The margins are that narrow at this tournament. Look for a step up from Troy Spratley, Oklahoma State. I think he's going to have a big year. 3rd place, Lightning Luke Lillodahl. Now, I didn't go as far as John Kozak did and put him on the top of the podium, but I think 3rd place for a true freshman with Luke Lillodahl's experience is a great performance. And I think there's a great shot that he can match this. And this would be a very, very high finish for someone with, a very limited NCAA resume, right? Your first year, it's really tough. We saw his now teammate, Braden Davis, made it to the NCAAs as the ones he wasn't able to place. But Luke, I think he's got a little more consistent offense. He's a great athlete. He has been in a lot of high-pressure situations where Braden Davis kind of came on, and then boom, next thing you know, he's the Big Ten champion. Luke Lillodahl has been refined in the fire time and time again, and I think he's ready to rock. His neutral offense is really, really elite. He maybe has the best neutral arsenal of anyone in the field, but can he put it together and win the title? I have him coming just short, finishing 3rd, which is an incredible performance. And then number 2, I've got Matt Ramos getting it done. And I'll tell you what, if I uploaded what I shot last week, this will be a different order, because I was coming into this thinking like, Matt Ramos, he was round of 12 last year. He's going to figure it out. He's going to put it all together. I think his point scoring ability, I put it ahead of everyone at this weight class. His feet to back, his neutral leg attacks, his overall athleticism and explosiveness, ability to blow through guys, put them on their backs. This guy's really, really special. And 2nd place is a very, very high. That's a special finish for Matt Ramos. But I couldn't quite go there. I went back and I looked a little more at his year, and then I looked a little bit more at the national champion, Richard Figueroa's year, and I couldn't stop thinking about the end of Richard Figueroa's season. And you may be thinking, okay, yeah, we know he won NCAAs. He had a good end of the year. Something happened for Richard Figueroa. From February 24th on, this guy was insane. He was undefeated. And no one in this field has a stretch in their careers, in their entire careers, that was as impressive as what Richard Figueroa did the last month. And now you say, well, February 24th on, there's like some duels and maybe Pac-12s and NCAAs. Who did he hit? Well, I'll tell you right now. He beat Luke Stanich, who was number 1 at a point in the year and an All-American. He beat Caleb Smith, All-American. He beat Brendan Kaler, an All-American. He beat Nico Provo, okay? And that's just to get to NCAAs. Then we saw him beat Pat McKee, multiple AA. He beat Braden Davis, the tournament's top seed. He beat Anthony Noto. He beat Drake Ayala. No one in this field has a run like that. And it's not like you can look at the accumulation of wins for some of these guys and say, okay, well, Matt Ramos has beaten Spencer Lee, and Troy Spratley actually majored Richard Figueroa, and you could hand pick those wins. But I'm trying to find someone that's got it kind of figured out, right? That I have some sense. I'm trying to pick the national champion, right? I'm trying to latch onto some piece of data, some sign that says this guy is gonna be able to replicate it, or this guy, there's some sort of evidence that it can be done. And it's not just because he won NCAAs. It's that run is not matched by anyone in the field. And so I do have Richard Figueroa going back to back. That is my prediction. And it's not just because he did it at NCAAs. It's what we saw from February on. And do I think Matt Ramos can win this? Of course I do. I think Luke Lillidahl, Troy Spratley, on and on. Jory Volk, he's beaten Richard Figueroa, as have a couple other guys. I mean, you look at Richard Figueroa, I mean, he lost Maximo Renneria, he lost to Jory, he lost to Spratley by major decision. He was 5-5 at one point in his season. But there's no arguing that something changed, something flipped in him. And no one has shown this level. I mean, even if you go back to Matt Ramos's year where he made the NCAA finals his sophomore season, he didn't have a stretch like that even before the finals. He was majored at the Big Ten Championships, the tournament before he beat Spencer Lee in that semi. So for that reason, I've got Richard Figueroa. Do I think Luke Lillidahl can win this weight? I absolutely do. I really do. I just, at this point in time, he's got a lot of tests he's going to have to pass. And does he have that kind of X factor where he's going to be that many takedowns better than these guys? I think he's going to be in a lot of dogfights. And I think this is a weight that, I mean, you heard I had Tanner Jordan, Noah Certain, Steve O'Poole, and Cooper Flynn off the podium. There's a lot of other tough guys like a Nico Provo. This weight is like 15, 16 deep again. Even though I gave you all those names that are out of the mix, it's still a really deep weight class. And so that's how I see it shaking out. I'm going to do my NCAA champion full prediction and confidence order. 125 might be the weight I'm least confident in, truly. But for right now, Richard Figueroa is my pick. But I want to know your pick. Who do you think is going to win this weight? What's your podium? Will you even go that deep? Will you put your top 8 in round of 12? Back in the message board days, we used to do that kind of stuff. Now it's just you pick your champ. But I want to hear from you. Who do you have winning this crazy weight? I think it's going to be chaotic again. But I want to know what you think.